Welcome back, and it's great to have you guys. I think we've pretty much laid the table in the first session this morning, so I'm gonna crack on and get the perspectives from you all. We're looking at sort of government vision and smart execution. We've got the developer perspective here, and the sort of practical execution through the work that Miral does as well. So let's just kick off, Excellency, if you will. You lead strategic transformation across infrastructure, mobility, public services. You've got nearly 30 years experience in shaping Abu Dhabi's development landscape. So building on what we've heard this morning, just want to get your perspective on where we are at, where we are headed, and where you see the key priorities for execution on what is this very ambitious lifestyle vision.
Becky.
I think you're on.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky. I think it's a very important question. I think we have started the day with overseeing what has the development made in Abu Dhabi and how fast the pace in the past 50 years. That gives really an indication of what is coming in the next 50 years. Our focus is more human-centric. I think it's important that to remember that, yes, we're investing in infrastructure, we're committing to long-term investment in infrastructure for 75 billion, but all of that were taken into consideration that also our people, our residents, our nationals, they are co-creators of this future, especially when it comes to lifestyle, when it comes to livability. They are co-creator of all of this vision together. And we're shaping it in a way that Abu Dhabi is going to be, and it is already, the land of possibilities. And we are moving those possibilities forward.
One of the things that I just looked down this road, and as you were speaking, I was just looking down this road, and I think one of the unique sort of opportunities here is that, one, you all know each other. You've been around for some time. You understand the role that each of you have, independent of each other and very much tied into each other's work, because you're obviously working off the same song sheet, as it were. But you're the Director General of the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, or ADIO as it's known, responsible for driving economic diversification and sustainable goals. And I want this audience just to get a sense from you, from an investment facilitation perspective, what makes Abu Dhabi uniquely positioned to execute on this very sort of human-centric, as it were, community-centric, lifestyle-specific economic vision? And where do you see the key opportunities at this point?
Well, first of all, let me welcome everyone today for attending such an important event. The Abu Dhabi Infrastructure Summit is an opportunity for a lot of investors to actually sort of join and partner with exactly what's going on in Abu Dhabi, because as Dr. Saif and as the two chairmen have mentioned earlier, it's not about the next 50 years of economic development. It's really about the next 20. And when you look at the next 20 and exactly where the government is taking the economy, the next 5 years is going to be the most critical in terms of investment in infrastructure, in terms of investment in projects, in terms of investment in strategic elements such as smart and autonomous vehicles. And I'll talk a little bit about the smart and autonomous vehicles, because it's important to take it into context of how things are different from the traditional view of bridges, roads, lights, right? That's very traditional. But to go back to your question, Becky, I think one of the most important things that you can see here today is that the four of us, we've worked together in different contexts, in different places, and we have a good understanding of where the government wants to go. And what makes Abu Dhabi very, very different from anything else that you see, whether in the country or in the region or maybe elsewhere in the world, is that we stay course and we play the long game. We're not transactional. We're not doing a project. I was just sitting with Adil from Eldar and talking about some of the projects that are going on in neighboring states. It's all about the project. Here, it's about the city. It's about the words and the terms that you heard from our friends from the municipality talking about livability, not livability, lovability, which means that you want to create an emotional attachment between the individual, between the investor, and the city. And I think that's what makes us very unique. And the fact is, as His Excellency Ahmed Zaabi, our chairman, mentioned in the previous panel, we look at it from a perspective of saying, where does the economy want to see itself in 20 years from now? Do I see urban mobility in the form of air taxis? Do I see the future of water because we're so dependent on water and food technologies that I want to develop that infrastructure? Do I see AI playing a predominant role in my economy such that I want data centers? And I take that future vision and I work backwards. And I say, this is the cluster. These are the incentives. I would love to invest with Abu Dhabi by bringing the private sector in. And I would like to collaborate with the likes of Miral, with the likes of Eldar, and with the likes of the municipality.
While we're at it, can you just talk about clusters? Talk about the autonomous mobility cluster, for example, because I think it's important to get a sense of how you are building the investment opportunities, as it were.
Sure. I mean, Becky, you've been around long enough to see that 20 years ago, we spoke about, diversifying the economy, getting away from, oil-dominant industries into non-oil diversification, looking at the future of aerospace, looking at the future of aluminum, looking at the future of solar technology. And today, in front of you, you have Masdar, you have Strata, you have Emirates Global Aluminum. That is a realization of being focused and making sure that you deliver to your promises. We are 20 years from where we were at the last economic vision when we refer to Abu Dhabi Economic Vision 2030, and we are trying to project what does the future economy look like, because it's no longer about playing catch-up. Today, we have direct instructions and direct guidance that we want to overcome other economies around the world and become a lighthouse. You heard again His Excellency mentioning about sandboxes and mentioning about stuff to do with test beds. And this is essentially where we're going. So we've mapped out a few economic clusters. We've launched 3 so far. We've launched the smart and autonomous vehicles, looking at air taxis, looking at urban autonomous mobility, and looking at autonomous vessels. And today you can go to Saadiyat Island and you can sit in an autonomous car that has a safety driver, and I think in a month or 2 or 3, there's not going to be any safety drivers. And that car, that taxi, can take you from Saadiyat Island to the airport or to Yas Island. We just did the testing of the first air taxi, and you could see the beautiful skyline of the museums in Saadiyat or the beautiful skyline of Abu Dhabi City on the Corniche, and these air taxis are now doing hot weather testing. There is anywhere in the world that hot weather testing has happened with air taxi. It's happening for the first time in Abu Dhabi. And these are live examples of how we enable, as Abu Dhabi Investment Office, enable the private sector to play its role.
But it talks about how you will work with each other to support the overarching economic and ambitious vision. Dr. Mohammed Abdul Al-Zabi, you are the Group CEO of Miral, and for the benefit of those who may be as yet not as familiar with Miral as perhaps others are, this is a powerhouse within the leisure, entertainment and tourism sector. You have literally put Abu Dhabi on the map through the projects across Yas Island. You are one of the most recognizable brands with key partnerships, and the forging of these key partnerships, I think, is really important within the context of what we're talking about today. The announcement of Disney, of course, to Yas, a great example of the enormity of your portfolio. Let's just get your sort of initial perspective, scene-setting perspective through Miral's lens, as it were, as we talk about where the investment opportunities are here.
I think we should be all very grateful and thankful for 2 dimensions. One is location, being here in Abu Dhabi. What a great place to be in. The development, the evolution of Abu Dhabi here, the city that has been listed as the safest city in the world for 9 times in a row, the city that can attract any investment to come here in Abu Dhabi. Second is timing. What a time! Out of 6,000 people of humanity lifetime, we're living at this time where the evolution is unbelievable. A good example is Yas Island. By the way, Yas Island is 18 years old only. In 18 years, Abu Dhabi, Al Dar, Miral, with support from Abu Dhabi entities, built all those theme parks, all this infrastructure to create one of the best entertainment destinations in the world. That would not happen anywhere else in the world, but in Abu Dhabi. So credit to Abu Dhabi entities and support from Abu Dhabi government. And that what made it much easier for us to sell the story to Disney and attract one of the top brands in the world to come and build a theme park.
And I think Disney's a really good example here of the opportunity for partnerships. You've taken a partnership with Disney, but this is an Abu Dhabi conceived and built project, correct? So as far as Disney is concerned, to a degree, it's the IP, which is different from the way that Disney has operated in the past, but very specifically a sort of Abu Dhabi story. Can you just explain a little more on that? Because I think it's a good example.
The agreement is that this will be distinctly Disney theme park, but distinctly Abu Dhabi or Emirati theme park. So there will be design touch, there will be culture touch of Abu Dhabi and UAE, and this theme park will collaborate and work closely with Disney and local entities to design contemporary theme park, but yet the most innovative and cutting-edge theme park in the world.
So important. Let me bring you in, Nadal. Better talking about how you all collaborate all the time. You're CEO of Aldar Projects, which is a dedicated project development arm for both the government of Abu Dhabi and, of course, for Aldar. You're responsible for a huge portfolio of projects at various stages of development. Perhaps you just want to speak to the scope of that portfolio and where you see the Aldar Projects perspective within the context of the wider vision.
Thank you, Becky, for giving me this opportunity to explain what we exactly do in Aldar. Well, we do have a mandate from also the government. In 2020, we were given the mandate from the Abu Dhabi government to execute major infrastructure projects. And since then, we've been working very closely with the government to realize that vision. And during that period, we've seen how ambitious these plans are, to the extent at the beginning it was quite scary, to be quite honest with you. But of course, with the facilitation of all stakeholders, the constant coordination with all the stakeholders and all government entities, and with the help also with the private sector, we were able to realize quite a lot of infrastructure projects. It all starts with a visionary leadership. So we are blessed with that. And unifying all of these stakeholders towards that one unified vision helps that quite a lot, to be quite honest with you. And realizing all of these and achieving all of these goals in such a short period of time requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, but most importantly, a very synchronized way of working. So we are blessed with that, okay? And we are very blessed also having all of these government entities coming all together, constantly communicating and coordinating towards that unified vision.
Can I just ask you how you ensure that Aldar doesn't crowd out other opportunities for the private sector?
I think that's more of a question to the government. But I think that's a curveball for me and a straight one for Badr.
Badr's just said that's a good question for him, Becky, very specifically.
But I'll tell you what, I think today, seriously speaking, I think it's an equal opportunity. So it's becoming more and more competitive. Yes, we needed maybe a single player at a certain point of time to incubate and to lead a very vital industry. to ensure that there is a capable delivery arm for the government and for the city of Abu Dhabi. But now, after that, I think, and we are blessed that we have been nurtured also by the government to a certain extent, and we were given that opportunity, and we seized that opportunity. However, I think today there are new market entrants that also are given the same opportunities out there, and and we feel the competition today. I mean, and we see that we're kind of, people encroaching to our market share. But to be quite honest with you, all thanks to the government again, I think there is so much room for Aldar and other than Aldar to kind of play a role in it.
I wouldn't have expected you to say anything less. Listen, but let me bring you back in and then get a perspective from the others here. We started here talking about, or I certainly asked, how you are structuring investments to ensure they contribute to lifestyle enhancement, because, again, as a resident, I know that this is not just a marketing campaign, that this is a livable, lifestyle, loving place to be. It really is. But what's the return, or how are you measuring lifestyle return on investments? I mean, for the benefit of those who may be looking for opportunities here, what are the sort of questions that you are going to be asking of potential investors? And how do they better understand how you execute on the community-centric, lifestyle-centric strategy within the wider vision?
So, Becky, there are two angles to this, all right? And one angle is a very simple mathematical formula, and we don't need to overcomplicate it. We measure the return not on investment, but the return on economy. And what I mean by return on economy is that we look at the GDP impact, EBITDA, your profitability, wages, and tax. So for every dollar that you want support from the government, whether it was in the form of, let's say, incentives, or it was in the form of actual value creation with introductions to people like Adil, we just want to measure what is the return on economy, and the formula is quite simple. But let me park aside the technical aspects and let me talk about the quality aspects of how we provide our incentives. So one of the things that we wanted to achieve is that you would expect that as you live closer to the city, you have the best schools, you have the best teachers, you have the best, sort of, let's say, ambience, environment for the students to flourish. As you move away from the city, that's less of an advantage. You probably don't get the best teachers, you probably don't get the best facilities. And in essence, what we want to achieve through our partners, through these investors that have decided to set up a regional headquarter in Abu Dhabi or a global headquarter in Abu Dhabi is, for example, in return for my incentives, in return for my value creation opportunities or support, adopt a school. Because we believe that there should be inclusion. From a perspective of Plan Abu Dhabi, there should be inclusion that students, irrespective whether they're in Shahama, whether they're in Suihan, whether they're in Al-Dhafra, should have the same opportunity to be successful, to flourish with the best facilities as if they were inside Abu Dhabi city. And we do that. We do that through the incentive program. We do that through the public-private partnership program that we do with the Abu Dhabi Education Council. And we work together towards saying, as an investor, it's not the money. It's not your investment, it's the partnership. That's why, again, I refer back to His Excellency Ahmed Zaabi when he mentioned it's invest with Abu Dhabi. There is no shortage of financial capacity or capability in Abu Dhabi. It's more that you're looking for technical partners, people that aspire, have the same vision, same values, and you want to collaborate with them on that regard.
And you and I have talked about this before, and we've been talking about this for 18 months. Are you seeing success to that degree? Do investors here understand the importance of that partnership opportunity?
Every single opportunity that we have spoken to partners about contributing more in terms of mentorship, internships, adopting a school, participating in the PPP mechanism by, sort of cutting out CO2 emissions. I have not received 1 inch of a resistance in those kind of discussions, because the quality of investors that are coming here are exactly the type of investors that we want to partner up with in Abu Dhabi.
So they take a part of the action in the success of the city as well. There is a real sense of sort of ownership to a certain extent in the investments that are being made. It's great. Mohammed, let's just talk about how you are integrating smart infrastructure into what are these enhanced experiences. I mean, Yas is burgeoning into what, we can only describe as a new South Florida, if we even want to use South Florida as an example these days. I think we've gone beyond that. How do you hook that up, for example, with Saadiyat Cultural District, which is another key opportunity across arts, culture, entertainment, which is 22 minutes, up the road. It's a little bit like saying, here's South Florida, but you've also got Washington, Madrid, London, and Paris with the key arts and culture sort of opportunities through the Louvre and the Guggenheim that you simply don't have 22 minutes away from, Disneyland, SeaWorld, Warner Brothers. So I'm really interested to see what the smart infrastructure strategy and opportunities are here, and then how you connect that, on a UAE basis to the kind of wider opportunity that is Dubai down the road.
I think smart infrastructure starts with smart master planning, and that's what Abu Dhabi has successfully done over years. We see now Yas Island as an entertainment destination, Saadiyat as cultural destination, and between them two iconic islands that are just announced, Fahd and Jubail Island, of course, with other landscape and the skyline of Abu Dhabi. Connecting that with the new railway that will connect Dubai to Abu Dhabi with 3 minutes fast rail, and compound that with two international airports that will combine, have more than 200 passengers, which is a new Al Maktoum Airport, Zayed International Airport. That is very unique master plan, supported with unique infrastructure that will make it very convenient for people to travel and come. Compound that with the new GCC railway that will connect Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Ru Al Ain to Muscat. That would be a very unique proposition. I think in 10 years, you'll see people having breakfast in Abu Dhabi and then lunch in Riyadh, and then come back to enjoy a nightlife here in Abu Dhabi.
Fantastic. I'm just going to get to Aldar projects again, before I get back to you, Saif, here. I've been listening to what you've been saying, Adil. What are the biggest execution challenges that you face in implementing what is an incredibly ambitious urban development plan? And how do you mitigate those risks whilst maintaining the speed? And if anybody is new to Abu Dhabi, to the UAE, but very specifically to Abu Dhabi, there's a thing called Abu Dhabi speed these days, which is a pretty exhausting phenomenon just to live amongst. Certainly at CNN, I'm not privy to quite how much ambition there is behind the scenes as far as the momentum in speed is concerned, but I see it as an observer. So, what are the key challenges that you face, and how are you mitigating the risks?
So I see these challenges are multifaceted in such a way. So you've got one, economic prosperity and economic growth, and keeping that up. But of course, our colleagues in the government are doing a great job ensuring that this still goes on, and it keeps on fueling it. And whenever there is a need for intervention from the entities, government entities, they play a vital role to ensure that happens. And we've seen that. We've seen that during the global financial crisis. We've seen that during COVID. We've seen the stimulus packages here and there every now and then whenever it is needed. We've seen it also through the adaptive changes in rules and regulations, and how quick they are in adapting and being forward thinkers, I would say, towards adapting to futuristic and smart economies. So that's one challenge, but that's being mitigated from that there. The second biggest challenge, I think, is the supply chain. With the ambitious projects that we have, whether it's in public sector or private sector, whether it's infrastructure or master plan communities such as Fahid, such as whatever pipelines coming in Saadiyat or Yas, and even the theme parks that are coming, we have more and more requirements to niche and I would say specialized supply chain contractors to come in place. And it's becoming more and more challenging to find the right people and the right partners to execute that vision. So I think that's one big challenge. However, I think summits like this, for example, constantly communicating to the world and making Abu Dhabi very attractive to the supply chain and to talent. Okay. I suppose also bringing in the right set of people, the initiatives by the Ministry of Industry and promotion of ICV, for example, the ICV program, which is quite big. I think all of these efforts combined should be able to at least alleviate that pressure from having the right partners to execute this vision.
We talked earlier on about not being able to control the global or regional headwinds. It's about, therefore, ensuring that there is an agility, an ability to pivot around challenges and opportunities, and about ensuring that this is a resilient economy and that the visions and strategies are sustainable. So Saif, let me come back to you, Your Excellency, at this point. And can I get a sense from you about how you are using technology not just to sort of implement these visions and the enhancing of our sort of daily lives as residents here, but you are actively ensuring that everything is measured, that technology equips you to ensure that you can measure, that you have metrics on everything, and how those metrics help inform and, if needs be, move the strategy around to ensure that it is sustainable. Just give us a real sense of what you're doing behind the scenes.
Thank you, Becky, for an excellent question. First, let me just, I think, go back to the transformation. When we talk about transformation, it's not about transformation within department, but you rightly said it. You know, the real transformation is working across department, across public and private sector, across entities, and also engaging the community. Okay, in terms of getting all of that done, what we have to do from our side to ensure that we are measuring that, we are really, our ears to the ground when it comes to numbers, data, and how we are equipping our teams also to be ready with it. Yes, we have applied, digital twin. We have applied, let me give you an example. Our parks with 1,400 sensors, that measure IoT, and ensuring that our, visitors to those parks having the right experience. We measure the air quality, pollution quality, even the moisture within the soil, reducing the operating cost for these parks, responding also to any issue, so we have to have a very solid engine behind us when it comes to the applying the technology to ensure that we have the right information, we have the right solution, and we have applied AI across the chain. And the latest coming also with the building permit. We have applied the BIM, business information, building information modeling AI to enhance the experience from architect to engineers and even to customers when they're building and using permits.
A question for both of you, as you work very closely together. What are the critical success factors you both see as non-negotiable for monitoring the execution speed while ensuring quality outcomes? So you want to take that first, Saif, and then
with chance better to start.
To be honest, I would start off with safety. The fact that there is a credibility associated with any project that is developed in Abu Dhabi, the fact that there is a certain expectation in terms of what you could, derive out of any infrastructure project, the number one fundamental thing that you cannot compromise on. And I shouldn't be saying this. He's an ex-oil and gas person. He should be saying this, but it is safety, right? And we want to make sure that by cutting corners, whether it was on the building material side, whether it was trying to extract all the value up front so that the project might fail in 5 or 6 years, these are things that we watch out for, because we want this long-term partnership approach. We don't want someone to come in here to cut corners and try to deliver a project just because there is an aspect of speed involved.
100% agreed with Badr. What differentiate Abu Dhabi is not just the scale, but its soul, focusing, our focus on people, it's the human-centric kind of approach. Safety always comes first, comes on the top. And then after that, we need to make sure, not just the basics is satisfied and done, but our aim is to reach, as we have progressed in terms of smart cities in the past few years, from 14 to position ourselves in number 5 now globally in smart cities. We're going to number 1, and to ensure that there's a lot of work from our side has to be done, and there's no shortcut here. It's all playing for the long game. Capital Plan 2040, ensuring the alignment across department, ensuring that we are also connected to our people, ensuring their needs are satisfied, expanding with the vision, having a world-class livability, but that also has to be integrated with the community, municipalities, and transport. So that bottom line is ensuring that safety comes number 1, satisfying, the community, ensuring we also aim to exceed the expectation when delivering our leadership vision.
It's but it's critical, one of the unique sort of selling points of the Abu Dhabi vision is that you work as effectively together as opposed to, for example, an Aldar Projects type company working elsewhere, sort of in isolation on a project by project basis. Then it is incredibly important that you guys, for example, in development, complement each other to ensure this cohesive city experience. I just wonder how your investment strategies and your real estate development are aligned to ensure that you do achieve this sort of integrated lifestyle opportunity. And I say this because there will be people in the audience who will be listening to this, will have listened to the panel before, and will say, look, I get this, but, there are certainly other cities around this region that talk about being lifestyle-centric, being community-centric. And so what is it ultimately, and I think we've identified it here, the way that the entities work together, what is it about that makes Abu Dhabi so effective, and how do you ensure, Adil, to that point, that you are complementing each other?
I would say this is the secret sauce. The constant coordination, between the private sector and public sector. There are so many forums where there are the constant coordination between private and public sector. I'll give one example, which is a very effective example. The Chamber of Commerce, for example, has industry-related working groups where the private sector is very well represented in these working groups, and each industry, or they group industry leaders for each and every industry to come and vow on their challenges and their issues. So there is coordination between the private sector amongst themselves, but also there is always a government representative that is present over there. I would say it has been taking a lot of active roles recently in terms of taking action and consulting with the private sector before a law or a regulation is being issued. So the real estate law that came out recently, it came through, or it had gone through the real estate working group, and we commented on it. Our comments were taken into consideration, and at the end of the day, we're going back to the previous point of we are all unified behind one granular vision, and everybody takes a role and responsibility towards realizing that vision.
Mohammed, you were just nodding.
I think what would make or break any destination, any business, is decision making. And that is very unique about Abu Dhabi. It's incredibly fast. And the levels of decision making is very narrow and much less. So we're very close to each other. Example is there is literally a bi-weekly meeting we have to discuss Adiyat infrastructure challenges. Head of department of municipality, head of the culture and tourism in that meeting, and decision made on the spot. And that would make or break any business or any destination. And that is very unique about Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, just to complement, I think what my colleagues said, 100% agreed with them. What differentiate us that we work, seamlessly together, and we work in very, very close collaboration. So each of us, I start the day with a long list of stakeholders engagement with multiple, priority tasks with multiple stakeholders, and my colleagues here on my left, we work very closely together. Yes, decision making is crucial, and agility, as you mentioned earlier, is something that differentiates Abu Dhabi, and that's what stands out here.
We've got about 2.5 minutes. There are 4 of you, so you have about 38 seconds each to answer the following. We're sort of closing with what I think is really important to get from you guys, which is the future reality. So, question to you: looking ahead to the next 5 years, give us one concrete example of how residents and visitors will experience Abu Dhabi differently because of the work that you are doing today. Saif, 30 seconds from a transportation and infrastructure perspective.
Well, of course, what they will see in the next 5 years is we're massively investing in infrastructure. We're building roads to ensure that we reduce the delay time, and some examples already we've done reduce the delay in traffic by 80%. So continue investment, applying to 2040 capital plan, ensuring that also we are very close to our residents and community needs, and ensuring that we raise the bar when it comes to livability.
That wasn't bad. I think that was about 38 seconds. Investment impact banner, if you will.
You said, other destinations have claimed that, they have the same stories with respect to livability. I think the fundamental difference here is that we have a track record. And the second thing is we promise livability without traffic, right? So we don't have the traffic jams that you would expect anywhere else around the world. And that talks about fantastic master planning. But more importantly is what I mentioned earlier on, creating the stickiness. You want to create the stickiness, whether it's reflective in urban mobility, whether it's reflective of the quality of life, the retail, everything else, that this is a place you will call home, and you will invite your friends to actually want to consider another home for themselves around the world.
And part of the reason for that, thank you, is the offer of experience integration. So, Mohammed, if you will, 30 seconds on that.
I think what I would say is I would give reference point. Abu Dhabi today became the right land to seed any idea. People said it's mission impossible to build a tourism destination. It will not work. Why you build theme parks? I heard that 10 years back. Today, I'd like to tell you that July and August are as busy as December. And last Eid holiday, Warner Brothers Hotel occupancy was 98.8.
Wow.
With 2,000 dirham average daily rate in 4 days. That is summer Abu Dhabi. So we're as busy as winter.
Thank you. Hadel, last word.
Building nowadays, instead of just building homes and selling homes, we tend to build and sell lifestyles. So our themed master plan communities revolves around the fabric of society that we want to build around Abu Dhabi, which is very, very important.
And with that, we're going to leave it there. We are blessed to have had the four gentlemen on this stage today. I think you've got a really good sense of where Abu Dhabi is and what its vision is and how it is executing on that vision and where the opportunities exist to partner with that and take a lead in helping this emirate work into the future. This is a very future-facing place. And with that, I'm going to wind it up. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you, guys.